Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Ultra Lazuli coming at you live with some Scum and Villainy play here. There have been a little bit of changes, not too much. We'll kind of get into those here in a sec, but just wanted to introduce you guys to what we're going to be doing here. Just like last time, if you didn't catch it, we went through character creation and got to know Gizmo, Riot, and the Stitch, Audra Clarity, and what their interests are, what they'll be doing, who their characters are, that sort of thing. I'll be posting that probably to YouTube here in the next week, so take a look at my YouTube channel and check that out. Other than that, why don't we go ahead and bring on our guests, our players here. So, Aaron, why don't you go ahead and give us a short introduction.
Hi, I'm Erin or Coda, and I'm playing the Stitch Needles or Audra Clarity.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you for joining us. All right, and Mad Titan.
Hi, how's it going? My name's Matt Titan Kronos, and I'm playing the mechanic Gizmo, or Karn Cronson.
Alright, hi. I am Thunder. I've still got a shitty voice, even from last week, and I will be playing Bon Riot Balgon. How you doing? Yeah, well, it hasn't been that long, but yeah, it's not as terrible. I'm not hacking lungs up anymore, but it still affects my voice, so... Thanks, man. Yeah, I can still be hacking lungs up and be. That's what the immune function's for.
Yeah. One, one of my partners is coming over tonight. I have multiple partners because I am polyamorous. Well, you brought up the dates. Pretty good. Dog escaped yesterday, but she's back. Other than that, nothing to report. Yes. Our back neighbors. And no, I had to go. We had to find her. Fortunately, she didn't go far, but she did hide for a lot of the time that we were looking for her.
Okay. Sorry about the mute there. Just a simple mistake. All right. So, did she come back of her own volition, or did you have to go grab her out of your neighbor's?
I went and eventually found her in the school down the street. And she came to me when I called, but we had been looking through the school and calling her for some time before that point, and she had not come. So she was just tired of being out and decided to come back.
Okay. Well, glad to hear that everything turned out all right. So, Titan, what's been going on with you, man? I heard that you were trying to work on a game of your own in 5th edition, D&D.
Really bad time. Give me like 5 seconds for it to follow.
Okay. Well, From what I understand, Titan was asking about how different factions should work, and I was working with him, giving him some advice and stuff on how that would go, and who would be looking out for what, and all that sort of thing. So, have you had your first game yet? How did it go?
No, the first game is actually going to be on the 19th. It was planned for the 12th, but one of our players has some family issues come up that kind of made it unavoidable, and we
Hmm.
don't want to start without the whole group. So the 19th is a day we can start with the whole group. So we're gonna do that instead, just delay it by a week.
Okay.
And definitely the help that you gave me was really good. Um, at this point in time, I'm creating some character questionnaires for them to fill out before it starts. They've given me their backstories at this point, and I'm kind of populating the world with different NPCs based on the backstory. And I'll also based on these questionnaires. For instance, I think I'm going to ask my gunslinger, "Hey, what is one thing you took from your massacred family's possessions? What is one thing, and why did you take it?"
Okay, so these questions are a little bit more geared specifically towards the characters themselves rather than the actual just like, here's a run through kind of job application of stuff and, fill each of these out type thing.
Yeah, no, they've already done that by being in other games of mine, or I know them personally and have seen their literary work and know that they can develop a character fairly well.
Well, all right. I'm glad to hear it, and hopefully that turns out well for you. All the
I'm
best.
excited.
Me too. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it here a little bit. So, as you might imagine, we're going to be playing Scum and Villainy. Uh, this is a Forged in the Dark game, meaning that it is kind of like I wouldn't necessarily say a carbon copy, but very similar to the system Blades in the Dark. If you've ever played that, it is similar in some ways to Apocalypse World, Dungeon World, that sort of stuff. It's very narrative. A lot of the HP and harm mechanics are very different. Dice rolls are different. That sort of stuff. This specific game takes its setting from, uh, as you might imagine, space age, sci-fi, futuristic, a little bit of fantasy here and there, but mostly just kind of space opera type stuff. So we hope that you will enjoy the journey here. Our last session saw the crew of the Liberated, and that's the ship here. The Fire Drake is just kind of like the title of it, but the Liberated is the actual name. Um, we saw the crew of the Liberated escape from Isotropa Max Secure prison. It is a prison station in the just south of the Ren system, and we saw them escape from that place thanks to the Janus Syndicate and move on towards greener pastures. However, a couple of things happened during all that. This is all during character creation and is very in motion. One of the things that kind of lasted from that is that Gizmo, upon critically failing one of his hack rolls to access different kinds of technology and reprogram things, that sort of stuff, because he critically failed, there is now a clock here, which you can see here. This is the time until the 51st Legion finds you. This clock has 8 segments, and 3 of them are already filled in. Basically what this is saying that each time you guys leave a big mess or you're loud about how you take on a job or something like that, another tick of this is going to go up. And what that means is that once you get to 8 ticks, 51st Legion is going to find you guys. They're going to know exactly where you are, and probably the next jump that you make, they're going to be waiting for you. Or something similar to that. Perhaps worse, perhaps better. We'll have to see. However, there are, of course, things that you can do to negate this clock or annul it entirely. If you were to make friends with the 51st Legion, maybe through doing a job for them or holding something over their heads or just being better people and getting people to like you, that sort of thing, you would probably be able to annul this clock or at least get some segments removed from it. The 51st Legion, for those of us in the audience, are part of the hegemony, which is sort of like the Galactic Empire in Star Wars. It's this big, overwhelming, looming threat to any and all peoples who have a shady or colorful background, shall we say. And they take no shit, but a lot of it is just made up of these different factions, all kind of warring and vying for power within the hegemony. And each of these factions is trying to gain the upper hand. Some of them do, some of them don't. Some of them lose and are taken away from the face of the universe. All kind of depends. You can see, if you look here at the factions and systems, there are a number of different factions, and not all of them are on the same side. In fact, many of them have an enemy or two in one place or another. So, what I would like to do is we will go through the XP for last session, our character creation episode 0 session. I have written down here a couple of things. Number one, the mechanic, that's you, Gizmo. Go ahead and take 1 XP. I believe it was a rig attempt that was a desperate roll. So, since rig, we'll pull up Gizmo's sheet here. Since rig is in the insight bar, you would go ahead and mark one of the ticks to the right of insight to mark that you have gained a bit of XP there. The second XP that you got was from your regular playbook type stuff. And I see that you haven't entered it in here, but I did look it up. And I'll throw that up here real quick. So the mechanic gets the ability to gain XP whenever he or she addresses a tough challenge with technical skill or ingenuity. And I think you definitely did that last session, so I'm going to go ahead and give you an XP for that. Now this XP you can put into anything. You could put it into your insight, prowess, resolve, or into your playbook advancement. Now, the difference here is that if you put it into one of the 3 general stats, insight, prowess, or resolve, you'll only be able to increase that to its max and then mark another point in one of the subsequent skills. So let's say that you put it into insight, and then over the course of the game, you were to gain more insight ability. You were to gain more XP in insight through either desperate rolls or just putting them there from the end of each session. And you max that out, you would be able to put a pip into either doctor, hack, rig, or study. Similarly, if it was prowess, you'd be able to put one into helm, scramble, scrap, or skulk. And same thing for resolve, attune, command, consort, or sway. However, if you were to put it in your playbook advancement, in that case, you would mark one of your special abilities. So why don't you go ahead and decide what you wanted to do with that XP.
I have muted this entire time. I'm going to throw that extra XP into the playbook, I think.
Okay. Is there a ability that you're kind of looking into getting?
The Failing Wire and Twine, since we're going to be a rebel ship, it might be nice to be able to repair things at 0 cred.
Hmm. Okay. Well, I am definitely happy to see you thinking ahead here. Alright, so that will be the 2 XP. Also remember, Gizmo, that you have, we'll call it a free die for what happened last time. Um, you can use that in any action roll other than a fortune roll.
Okay.
Alright, next is the muscle. And while the muscle...
By the way, as of like 5 seconds ago, I have added in a belief and drive to follow, as would be for one of the points for collecting XP. I know I won't get anything from them right now, but going forward, it's a good thing to have written down. Just a belief that your character follows and a drive that pushes them onward.
Okay. I wouldn't necessarily say that you need to write those down. I'm not going to require it. Just have an idea of like who your character is, and I'm keeping a mind on each of your characters. But if you want to write them down, that's totally up to you, and I have nothing against that. So the muscle gets XP anytime it addresses a tough challenge with force or threats. I would say that shooting your way out of Isotropo Max Secure hangars, or even taking on armed guards to try and bust out of your cell is definitely addressing a challenge with force. So
Yeah,
go.
is that one or two?
I'll say that since you had the advantage and the high ground for the hangar, the tougher challenge really would have been breaking out of your cell in the first place and getting down the hall, which I would agree with. So go ahead and mark an XP for that. Alright, so you're marking your playbook advancement. Is there anything you have your eye on?
I am looking. Well, I mean, a lot of the stuff in my playbook is pretty cool. Scary is one that I'm looking at. Ready for anything. Wrecking Crew, definitely. But those are the main ones.
Alright. Well, we'll see what happens next time here. Alright, and then last is the Stitch. Needles, Audra Clarity. And the Stitch gets XP when they address a tough challenge with insight or compassion. Now, I may be wrong, but I don't think there is a tough challenge for you to overcome with either of those. I don't think you're presented with a whole lot of tough challenges for yourself.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay. In that case, no XP for that. However, for all three of you, this is the same. You expressed your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background, and you struggled with issues from your vice or traumas during the session. I think the last one here isn't really going to come into play. However, does anyone think that they expressed their beliefs, drives, heritage, or background?
I think I have. My belief and drive definitely came into play. I mean, it's a prison break, so I think that kind of goes for itself. Although I will say I probably could have done more for it, so it's up to you.
Okay. Yeah. What do the rest of you think?
I don't see why not. Personally, if I was going to say anything for Gizmo, it would be that he pressed his luck a little too much and bit off more than he could chew.
Okay.
Which is definitely something that's going to become a theme for him. You're going to notice that he likes pressing his luck.
Indeed. He's a gambling man. But what did you think about Bond getting an XP for expressing his beliefs, drives, heritage, or background?
I feel that he did, just off of what I know of his character from over listening to you guys. He definitely didn't come off as like he didn't. I don't know.
It's all right.
It's hard to say. It's one of those things that just is a little hard to say.
Well, what do you think, Needles?
I think that he should get an XP for that. I feel like the character really kind of came through last session. Um, I think it deserves an XP.
Okay. All right, go ahead and mark one more XP. Bon Riot Balgon.
Alright.
All right. I think that's good. I don't really know that anyone else expressed their beliefs, drives, heritage, or background, but Gizmo, you were talking about being a gambler, yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's gonna happen a lot.
Okay. I would say that I don't think there's a whole lot to really go on for that right now, but there's definitely going to be opportunities with the upcoming jobs. So we'll see what happens with that. Anybody else think that Gizmo should get an XP? He is a gambler, but I'm not entirely sure that we should give XP for not really having suffered for a vice or trauma.
Would that count as a drive there? Driven to push his.
Hmm.
I definitely don't think that it was indulging a vice or anything, but I could see it being a drive.
Okay. What about Riot? What do you think?
I can see it, but at the same time, I don't think he has necessarily suffered for it. I think it's just a side effect of
What went down?
Okay. All right.
I don't know. I could see it happening, but at the same time, I'm not gonna press for it.
All right. Well, in this case, I think two's good enough for right now. You'll definitely have more opportunities to get XP as the jobs go on. All right. The last thing here for XP and stuff from last session is the ship, the Fire Drake. Looks like we have a picture for it going on here too. So I'll display that real quick for you guys. So for the Fire Drake, you guys would get XP for executing a successful job that opposes hegemonic dominance. I think we can safely put an XP for that. Contend with challenges above your current station. Potentially, well, I'll have to talk to you guys about that. Bolster your crew's reputation or develop a new one. Or express the goals, drives, inner conflict, or essential nature of the crew, the dynamic of the crew, really. Do you guys think that any of the other ones here really attribute themselves well to yesterday's session? Well, not yesterday, but the last session, I should say.
I think we're in the middle of forming our crew dynamic, sort of getting that set in stone. I don't know if it would count as having done it already, but I do think that we're making progress towards that, and I will also say bolster the crew's reputation. I think ambitious, well, I suppose ambitious didn't really come into play because we didn't do more than just escape, right? We just got out, did what we needed to do. It wasn't really.
Shot your
If we
way
had,
out, took out some guards, and got the ship and got out. Yeah.
say, if we had pressed the all free button, the mass release, that would have been ambitious. But don't believe that happened. So
Yeah, we didn't see that button.
I mean, I was trying to find that button, honestly, but I screwed everything up.
Indeed.
it's all right. You're going to find the ghost and then make everything okay.
All right. Well then, the last one here is contending with challenges above your current station. Do you think you did that?
I mean, our current station was a cell previously. Now it's a ship, and we were contending with the hegemony. So I would say that counts, but at the same time, well, I guess even then it's a max security prison. So
All right.
I would say it has some merit to it, but it's your call finally.
Sure. Karn Cronson. I mean, before I move on, I just wanted to say, like, we're all adults here, and we want to put on a good show and play a game that kind of creates this dynamic feeling of big and epic space opera, and these little people kind of trying to do their own thing within this world. So, in relation to that, I just want to say that I am definitely open to taking any and all kinds of both advice and criticism about this from you guys. So, anyways, Cronson,
Yes.
what did you think about what happened last time? And do you think that it emphasized or allowed you guys to contend with challenges above your station?
Personally, I think the fact that me screwing up we may not be contending with something above our station yet, but if we don't deal with that clock, we definitely are going to. So it's a maybe if you count dealing with the 51st potentially.
Okay. What about you, Needles?
I would say that breaking out of a maximum security prison is kind of above our station. However, we did have help with that. So I feel like the way was made kind of easier for us with the help that we got from the Janus Syndicate.
Yeah, indeed, the Janus Syndicate. I went ahead and created some handouts for you guys. Not for everybody, but I figured people you might have encountered here are the Janus Syndicate. When the Liberated were escaping Isotropa Max Secure, they encountered and largely ignored a member of the Janus Syndicate named Jaro. He was the one primarily responsible for their escape, and is owed a favor somewhere down the line.
Well, I gave him a piece of candy.
I told him to fuck off.
Yep.
That,
And
that
Actually,
was maybe
the exact words were, "Who the fuck are you?"
yep. And Riot just bypassed him, left him in the dirt.
No, he said thanks.
All right, fair enough. But yeah, the Janus Syndicate, the ones who helped you escape. So, you think that it was perhaps not quite above your station because of the help that you received?
Yeah, I would say so. It would have been above our station if we hadn't had that help, but the way was kind of clear for us.
Okay. All right. Well, I think everyone's a little iffy on this one. So, why don't we do this? I'll just make a fortune roll, and we'll put it to 2 dice. And we'll put it as XP for contending. That's not how you spell contending. That's not how you spell contending. With obstacles beyond your station. A 4, so it's a partial. 2 partials. So I'll go ahead and give it to you for now, and maybe we'll see what happens later on down the road with Jaro and the Janus Syndicate and the job that they might want to do for you, or have you do for them, I should say. All right. One last change, and I already mentioned this to the players, is that the ship doesn't start with any crude quality as the Fire Drake, so I've went ahead and nixed that. But aside from that, everything is pretty much as we left it. Of course, without this clock. So, moving on a little bit here, you guys ready to go ahead and get started?
Yep.
Yep.
Alright. So, you guys have punched it a couple of leagues away here from Isotropa Maxicure, and from that sector you guys arrive in the system of Rin. Now, let's see here. Cool. Rin is sort of like the entry point into the sector. It is, in terms of a map, it would be galactically north of the last exit, and the inner arms going towards the hegemony. As the entry point to the Procyon sector, Rin was colonized a little over 100 years ago by House Nim Amar. It's never been an important sector, so Malclythe has never invested more than a minimum of resources in its development. Instead, it is used to safely train potentially important House members, or as an assignment to punish those who failed the House. Galactic law is more present here than the rest of the sector, as is the seat of the sector's administration, and contains gates to 3 systems, including a path towards the rest of the hegemony. So you guys arrive in the Rin system, and immediately, I believe, Bon, you're probably at the helm here, or at least somewhere near to it. You see a warning saying that your long-range sensors of the Liberated have picked up ships from the 501st, or 51st Legion, I should say. And they are definitely behind you, but who knows how long that'll remain.
Okay. So, yeah.
So, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, the immediate action is I'll get on the intercom and basically say, we got a tail and we gotta move. Hold on. And I will attempt to get us somewhere out of reach. Basically, I'm gonna try and, I am technically better at running than stealthing, but I don't think this ship is faster than the 51st Order ships. 51st Legion ships. So,
Well, it might be faster than some of them. I mean, the 51st
Just leave
Legion.
that to me.
51st Legion would have much larger ships, dreadnoughts, battlecruisers, carriers, that sort of thing. Whereas your ship is a bit more towards the smaller side in terms of like grand scope of everything. However, a couple of things. You notice that their ship is still in the sector that you guys just left. And you guys have jumped through the warp gates into the Rin system. Other thing I'll note real quick, and I know I am talking a whole lot, but I just wanted to get this across because information is power. there are a few uh, there, there are a few places here. Uh, there's the there's the moon of Warren, and you know that Warren is the home of House Malclaith. That's where Ritam Al Malclaith, the leader of the sector, that's where he rules from. That's where his facilities are set up. It's where a lot of the mining and processing plants are also set up. There are hordes of ships that pop up on your long-range sensors as you pull forward into the system that basically detail different kinds of mining ships, excursions, as well as other things going back and forth between Warren and other sectors, including the warp gates out.
Uh,
Go ahead.
so this is an industrial sector, right? There wouldn't be any like commercial stations or anywhere we could like dock and sort of hang. Like, there's nowhere we can lay low, so to speak.
The cove is in this sector, isn't it?
The cove is indeed in this sector, yes.
Right.
I'll describe that next. Uh, I'll just give you the description here. The Maelstrom pirates have made a station out of derelict freighters, cargo containers, and stolen scrap metal. They call this home the Cove. Enterprising individuals can discover where it is located if they have the tenacity or contacts, though it does not move within the cloud. Some other notable locations here would be Aleph. Between the poisonous gases and tectonic instability, there would be no reason to come to Aleph. If it weren't for its mineral stores, most of the wealth generated on the planet is taxed heavily by the governor, leading to frequent unrest with the miners. There's the Ashtari Cloud. An ship suffered a mishap here, generating an in-system nebula. Normal propulsion is minimal, and nav systems, navigation, are worthless. The Maelstrom pirates have figured out how to navigate the cloud somehow, though, and have made their base of operations within its protective shroud. And then there's the Straylight, the latest high society fad. The Straylight is an upscale club and cocktail bar where the system's elites can wine and dine. Usually orbits Aleph, though for periods of time it moves to other planets and moons in the system. Its owner, Chance, runs a pretty tight establishment, but things can sometimes get out of hand. And then there's Baftoma, aka the Husk. Hegemony resource exploitation is comprehensive, and planets which are not capable of sustaining life are stripped to their core. Baftoma was one such planet, and over the course of centuries was entirely stripped down, leaving scaffolding in its place. Its broken form is often used by folks seeking to hide or avoid pursuit. And then, last but not least, Outpost SB-176. You don't need a planet in order to mine, or at least you don't need ground. This combination mining platform and space colony is responsible for extracting resources from Vet, the gas planet below. Most of those are packaged and fired towards Prime Gate. And that's the gate leading back into the hegemony.
Okay, so it sounds like we want to swing by the Husk, see if we can lose the trail of 51st, and then I don't know. You guys want to overthrow an evil governor of the planet?
What you guys do is entirely up to you.
I think we need more information before we start doing stuff.
Okay.
I vote we go to the Husk, try to hide our presence for a little while, lay low, then go to the club.
All right.
I have a concern that the husk might be the first place the 50th Legion looks.
Then we could go hide in the nebula.
It also seems like a bad idea because that's Maelstrom territory, and the Maelstrom probably wouldn't think twice before attacking a basically helpless ship with 3 crew in it.
We have other crew. I'm doctoring them.
You guys, one thing, because of the change in your crew quality, you guys probably only have about 5 people on the ship, just like as NPCs, rather than a whole horde of people.
Okay. Still, 8 people. Sentiment is similar.
Sure.
I think the bigger concern with the Maelstrom pirates is the fact that they do not like us.
Where I was getting at, they probably wouldn't think twice about blowing a hole in us, and that would mean we need to blow a hole in them, and that would just make them like us less. So, I would say maybe. Well, here's the thing. The husk is probably the first place that I'll look, but at the same time, don't they have a track? No, they don't have a tracker on us, but still, they're pursuing us.
You don't know, actually.
Oh, okay. Here's the thing then, is Hyper Trail or Warp Stream or Phase Signature or something like that existent in this universe? I.e., can they track us where we're moving via some sort of... Can they track our jump, basically?
I imagine there's probably something akin to that, yeah. Probably some sort of subspace distortion that you guys would commonly leave. Now, whether that subspace distortion has a signature to it, some sort of specific marking or some sort of trail that you leave behind. Well, that's something you'd have to discover about the ship itself. Now, you could try and perhaps study the ship, study its components and stuff, but Gizmo might be a little bit better at that.
I would love to study the components of the ship.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead and give me a... why don't you go ahead and give me a roll here. A study roll. And your position, I would say, is probably controlled here. However, I'm going to say that your effect is probably limited.
Fair enough. Alright, so study. Position risky. Control. Back. Limited.
Good luck. Did you want to... Okay. Oh, you got a 6 on it, so... Alright.
Yep.
Yeah, you take a look around. As you guys have been progressing through the warp gate into Ren, and going down that trail, what you know is that because of how the warp gates function, because they essentially drive your ship through this lane, through this route, yours would probably get mixed or meshed up with many other ships that are going back and forth through these different gates. Now, as to whether it does leave a signature if you were to travel outside of the appropriate routes, appropriate warp gates, and that sort of thing, well,
Unsure.
yeah, you're not entirely sure right now. It's probably not something you've ever done. Yourself having been part of House Malclaith, or at least the hegemony in one form or another, you probably haven't gone outside of the predetermined routes that the Starsmiths Guild have set for everyone.
No, of course not. Even though it's research and development, we still use most of the normal routes.
Makes
Because
more
otherwise,
sense.
What's the point of having a ship that can blend in?
Christopher, is your cat inside? Because the screen door is wide open. I would get that in notes.
Well,
Sorry.
apart from screen doors, yeah, that's about as much as you're able to really figure out here. However, you do that without any problem. You recognize some of the engine makeups and what they would do to the surrounding stratosphere, as it were, of the subspace.
What would I have to roll to fix those dampeners?
Now that would be a repair, but probably a rig. That is something that you can probably do during downtime, which I'll explain here in just a moment. So it sounds as though you guys wanted to go to the husk. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll go to the husk and then see what happens.
Okay. All right, so you guys power up your engines, and you hear as the engines fire up, and a loud as the ship sears through the stars towards Baftoman. Or Baftoma? Actually, I think it might be Baftoma. Sorry about that. Okay.
The husk.
The husk. Yeah, Baftoma. Alright. Excuse me. As you guys are pulling up, we see a little kind of circle wipe, very similar to like Star Wars or something, and we see the Liberated closing in towards this planet. It's in viewing distance, and the vertical glass panel ahead, as you're in the pilot seats, reveals, well, a dead planet. This planet appears to be scored and marked with all kinds of different lasers, both mining and otherwise. Many parts of it, from what you can see on your monitors, appear to be completely hollow and emptied. There is no atmosphere to be found on the planet, and definitely no life, aside from what might be hiding within these crooks and nannies. Now, you guys creak over, and why doesn't someone give me a pilot here? Unless you want to tempt fate and roll a fortune roll on one of your guys.
That's better than any of us can do. So,
Alright. Someone go ahead and give me a fortune roll, we'll say with 2 dice.
John?
I can do that. Fortune. Maybe I can do that.
Yeah, you should be able to roll fortune.
At the bottom of your friends.
Yeah. So you go skills, and then bonus dice, and then gambits, and then friends, and then roll
Oh,
fortune.
that's a 3. That's a fail.
Oh no.
Yikes.
Ooh. Alright. So, cool. This guy, this pilot, someone give me a name for him.
We'll call him Mark.
Alright. This pilot, Mark, he has been huffing this inhaler quite a lot this entire time. And it seems like he's none the more relaxed for the experience. Uh, you're not entirely sure what this inhaler has, but it has some very neon bright radical designs on it, none of which you entirely recognize, but they kind of shift and meld. And you take a look at Mark's eyes, and you see that they're just completely wide open, bloodshot, damn near red in their entirety. And you get the impression that he hasn't slept in quite a while. However, just as you're noticing this, you feel the ship turn up a little bit, pitching its nose down upon an axis, and then you hear Mark just say, haven't been to the husk in a real long time, and we're gonna go and just break through right this. And all of a sudden, the entire view pane lights up with different warnings and errors as the ship catapults down into one of the cracks in the planet. And we see it breaking through all of these different metal scaffoldings and different bridges that are meant for humans or massive deposits alike. And he's just crashing right through each of these without any care. And you see the biggest grin on Mark's face as he does this. The rest of you are rather tossed around by the experience, not expecting to have to put on your seatbelts. And I want everyone to take a level 2 harm from being
Alright.
tossed around. So, the way that harm
All
works.
in favor of Mark dying.
Well, there are a couple of things here. The first is the way that harm works is that if you'll look on your character sheet, and I'll pull one up here. I'll pull up riots for right now. So if you'll look here, you'll see where the harm is marked. It's just under your vice and above your special abilities. So a level 1 harm is sort of like you're shooken up, you took a bruise or two, maybe you got hit by a stun baton, that sort of thing. Those are healed automatically with just regular downtime. Level 2 harm and above, however, is a little more serious. Level 2 is like being tossed around a ship that is crashing. It is like having a non-fatal gunshot wound or two. It is having a stab wound or two. It is being fully shocked with a large amount of voltage, having your mind assaulted by a mystic or psychic, having your body slowly torn apart by microbes or nanomachines, things like that. Things that aren't really necessarily fatal, but that definitely can cause some chaos for yourself. What I will also say is that because of the harm, if you'll look to the right of each level, you'll see that each level has a penalty associated with it. For level 1, you would have a lower effect for the related attribute that you roll. For level 2, you would have to take away 1 die. For level 3, and 3 is potentially fatal stuff, things that knock you out or knock you on your ass, things that cause you to start bleeding out. These are the kinds of things that you're going to need help from someone else to really take care of. You're not really going to be able to take care of them on your own, and even if you were, you'd probably not be able to move or go anywhere in the meantime. meaning that you aren't even able to take actions. The next thing about this is that if you fill up both of your slots on the harm, so for level 1, you'll see that Bon has Stun Baton. This is something that he took from the last encounter that he had with some prison guards. If he were to get hit again with like a regular baton and take a nasty bruise, and then he would take another Stun Baton, he'd have both of these level 1s filled up with something. So the third one that he would take would be escalated to a second level harm. If both of your second level harms are filled up, you escalate to the third level harm. If the third level harm is filled up and something happens and you don't have any place for a third level, second level, first level, anything like that, for whichever level of harm is appropriate, your character dies, most likely. So just kind of keep that in mind. The second thing that I was going to talk about with this particular circumstance, this consequence, is that you can try and resist this. So what happens is that you say that you want to resist this particular harm or any other complication. If there are multiple consequences, then or multiple complications, then you would resist each one separately. You would explain how you're doing this specifically. When you say that you're resisting, you automatically succeed at the resistance. Unlike in Open Legend, you just automatically done. There's no need to roll anything. You would succeed at the resistance. However, you would take 6 stress, and you make a roll to reduce the amount of stress that you take for this resistance. So, does anyone want to try and resist this?
I'll try and resist, and I will resist by physically grabbing onto whatever I can, a table that's part of the floor or some a railing, and holding on with strength enough to bend the bar.
Okay. So that sounds like you're resisting with prowess here.
Yep.
All right. So let's see how well you do.
Roll prowess. No bonus dice. 3, so I take 3 stress.
All right. So you take 3 stress and you negate that harm.
Mhm.
Anybody else want to try and negate their harm, or can think of anything that they'd be able to negate with?
I'd like to try and resist as well.
Okay.
Same. She can go first while I try to figure this out.
Okay. How are you going to try and resist your harm?
Basically in a similar way to Vaughn, only I assume I'm still in the med bay.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of like grab onto some, like, I imagine that there's like a fixed table with like restraints for times when you need to restrain someone who is being fixed up, and I sort of like strap myself into the restraints, or just clutch at them.
Okay. All right. Go ahead and try to resist this harm.
Prowess?
Yeah, that sounds like you're trying to resist with your prowess. So you're trying to hold on for dear life using your strength. So you would take 4 stress in that case.
Yep.
Okay. Gizmo, you also said that you wanted to try and resist this, correct?
Yes.
All right.
The way I'm thinking of doing this is Karn has his exosuit.
Mhm.
I would like to have maglock boots
Okay.
and use those to brace.
Okay. That sounds like it would be something that you rigged up and is probably more of an insight.
That was the goal. I don't have any bonus dice, right?
No bonus
I
dice.
have, I have one bonus dice.
Oh, that's true. You do have one if you want to use it.
I would like to use it here.
All right. Yeah, you don't take. You just initiate. Is it by mental command, or do you press a button?
Karn just, as we're approaching, like right before we hit the ground, he just kind of reaches up and smacks his, like a little control panel on his wrist that he also uses to hack, and you just hear like a as his boots lock into place, and this is a thing he normally uses when he uses his turret, as two braces puncture into the floor.
All right. Yeah, you definitely hear that. I would like to think that because of your size and the travel of the ship and the diminishing strength of the inertial dampeners, you're probably already like on the ceiling or about to hit it, and then you just impact the ceiling, tunk, tunk, and you suffer no real consequences. Everyone kind of flies by you. You kind of wave as Bond grabs onto a piece of metal.
Yeah, that's Karn. Karn definitely is like, hey, what's up? You guys don't have one of these?
Yep. Yeah, you take 0 stress from that because of your roll. Okay. So that die is gone. Just keep that in mind.
Yep. I figured a crashing ship is using it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, you. You guys feel this, and then the other problem is that the shields are up. You guys have some decent shields. If we look at the Fire Drake ship here, you guys have 2 ranks of shields as part of your auxiliary upgrades here. So the shields do break apart these things. However, sparks are flying everywhere. Gizmo, as you're kind of like trying to be as small as possible, you see a couple of tubes just kind of flail about and sever themselves from the ship, spreading some sort of gas among it. And there are a couple of fires as Mark just like rams through this big metal platform.
Over the din of all of alarms and crashing and screams, there's just this voice, completely serious. You're a dead man, Mark. I gotta work on the voice. You're a dead man, Mark. Mark, you're a dead man.
Yeah, you just hear him kind of almost half crying, half laughing.
I'm gonna go try to knock him out.
All right, that sounds like it'd probably take some time because you're still trying to
Walk along the ceiling. Yeah.
right, trying to mag yourself to the ceiling, and there's a couple of portholes that you probably have to get through. So
Also, as you are like walking towards the door, I think Bond will just kind of, because if we're upside down, the artificial gravity is busted or something. I'm gonna just straight up walk up to Karn. How high are the ceilings right now?
in the ship, probably not super high. I mean, I imagine there's probably like probably like 12 feet.
Okay, well, I was going to, I'll just use like a chair or something, stick that up just to block Karn's path as he's moving. No. Stay here. Fix this. I'm going for a spacewalk.
We're crashing, and you're telling me to stay put.
We've crashed. Difference.
You guys
We're still
definitely,
going.
as this is all happening and you guys are having this conversation, Mark crashes the ship through a large metal platform, probably something that you guys could have landed on. Another shower of sparks blows past you guys, and a couple of fires start up here and there.
Over the
And now you have more to fix.
well, Gizmo over the intercom. Over the intercom now. Somebody get that man out of that seat.
Yeah. Needles, you see a couple of your patients just kind of like flung to and fro as they're getting thrown about, not really adhering to the lack of initial dampeners, or inertial dampeners, I should say. And one of them just kind of flies by your face with their face, and you see a look of terror and bewilderment on them. And then he smashes his head against the corner of a bulkhead. And you just automatically see like a big streak of blood go down as Marcus finally lands the ship in a rather dark and secluded spot away from any of the light of the sun of Ren.
Fuck.
However, the system is stable now. You see that Marcus is just huffing away at that inhaler. What do you do?
Who can see Mark puffing away at the inhaler?
That would be Karn and Bon.
Oh, Karn straight up, like, you ever seen the show NCIS?
I have.
Gibbs.
Okay,
As far
well,
as-
why don't you
Not
go ahead and
like that.
describe Gibbs for those who haven't seen it?
Fair enough. So, Karn walks up, he shuts off his mag boost. We've now officially crashed. He looks Bond dead in the eye and says, "Now we've crashed." Walks over to Mark and just smacks him up the backside of the head. "What the hell do you think you're doing to this ship?"
I think he thinks he's flying.
Whatever that was, I wasn't flying, Bond.
I know.
You've noticed.
I said I think he thinks he's flying.
Yeah, he like grabs the back of his head and kind of retracts it almost as if he were a turtle, and you see him kind of turn around and real jerky get out of his seat, and he just kind of like waves his hands in front of him around his head and says, I can't do it. I can't do it. You're all around me. You're crowding me. Crowding me. Get away. And he starts making his way out of the cockpit.
I grab him by the collar, lift him up, and I'm just gonna take him over and say, "Come on, you have work to do." And I'm just gonna grab two of the nearest fire extinguishers and get to work on making sure we don't die.
All right.
I'm going to start crumbling. Super pissed. As he starts fixing things.
Okay, yeah. From what you can see, there was only some minimal damage to the hull of the ship. No actual holes or anything like that. Obviously, there was some internal damage as everything was shaken up. The biggest problem is that you see here. Well, why don't you go ahead and give me a study for that?
Oh, right.
So I think that would probably be the most applicable thing here for you to figure out.
Yep, position risky or controlled?
I would say that your position is risky, and the effect is going to be, we'll say, standard.
Alright.
Okay.
The
Just
worst.
just keep in mind, if you and it's going to be you that has to initiate it. If you want to push yourself, take a little extra stress to try and get an extra die, or if you want to try and take a devil's bargain or use a gambit, you'd have to notify me of that before you make the roll.
At this moment, no.
Okay. So, a 4. Okay. The biggest thing that you note is that the shield emitters are completely blown out. With the damage that you guys took, it basically, like the last big platform that you guys just barreled through, that was the last thing that really just took the shields out. They're going to take some serious time to repair. With you, as a mechanic, it would still take you less time, but the best bet is to have it dry docked and repaired there at some sort of place, some sort of machinist shop or ship junkyard or something like that. Whatever you can find would be better than trying to fix it internally or going on the outside of the ship and trying to do it on your own. I'll say if you want to start a project on that, I'll make a clock here. This will be a clock. This will be a 4-section clock, we'll say. I don't know why I made it green. I think I might need to change my color to white here. There we go. Alright. Nope. That's not it either. I'm an idiot. Alright. So this will be a 4-section clock. And each section, I'll say, you can spend a downtime activity, of which you normally get 2, to try and repair one of those sections. Once all sections are filled up, the shields will be repaired. If you were to take it to a dry dock and have them repair it, over the course of a downtime, it would repair by 2 instead of 1. If you have any ability that helps you out, then I'll say that you can use that.
Lovely. Absolutely lovely. So
Now, let me just say, it's not the end of the world. The ship is still mostly intact. There don't appear to be any other problems that you can detect. Nothing really critical, at least. But what you do know is that if you guys were to take a hit, it would go straight to the hull. And with your ship being as large and a little bit more unwieldy than other ships, it could be a problem. But anyways, sorry I cut you off. Go ahead and continue.
I'm trying to think how Colin would word this. So he presses the intercom again, and to all 8 people on board, 7 now. He goes, in the spirit of being fully transparent, I have to let you all know. I'm sorry, I keep changing his voice. We have 0 shields, and the hegemony's on our tail. So, we need to go somewhere now. We were supposed to hide here to cover our trail, but now we need to go somewhere and get this fixed. I don't have the parts, I don't have the resources and I don't have the time.
There you go.
How did this happen?
Well, our friendly neighborhood pilot Mark there decided that he was gonna take a few puffs without passing. And now he's high as a kite and has us stranded on the planet with no way to really hide ourselves as there's no life. And we're grounded for the moment. It's going to take a minute to get us back up in the air after that little incident. And as I said before, shields totally shot.
Is there
think
anyone
is-
who's too injured to make their way to the med bay?
Mark should be.
I think actually Bon is walking by with Mark at this point, and he just bursts in, holding Mark by the collar a few feet in the air, and says, "Basically, this guy's an idiot."
I couldn't agree more. How do you do this to something so beautiful? I mean, in terms of aesthetics, it looks a little bit like shit, but the technology inside this transport is years ahead of most other ships.
That's
Uh,
great. That's great and all. That's not the most pressing concern. Like, I'm glad that you're super hard for our ship, but could you dial that back for the moment?
I'm not gonna lie, I really can't.
Good for
Needles.
you. For now, and I throw Mark on the floor. Bring him down.
That sounds like a. That sounds like you're just throwing him down. He doesn't seem like he's in much of a position to really argue. And he's just kind of like twitching his arms kind of around his head, and he's alternating his expression between a shit-eating grin and a an expression of just pure ecstasy.
Does he still have his inhaler thing on him?
Uh, you don't know, but Bon would know. And Bon, you see that it is tied via a leather necklace to his neck.
I lift him up by the necklace, break the pipe, and then drop him.
Okay. That
I
sounds.
was hoping to have a look at that.
Well, you'd have to ask Bon about it now. All right, Bon, why don't you go ahead and give me. Sounds like a scrap.
All right.
I'll say your position here is. Your position here is controlled. Your effect. Because
I
of.
have an injury, so
Yeah, because of your injury, I'm going to say that your effect is limited here.
6 still.
Alright, yeah, you definitely do so. You lift him over your shoulders, not super high. There's not, like, you're a big dude, there's not a whole lot of room between your head and the ceiling. But you kind of like throw him down. It's probably not as hard as you wanted it to be. There's a little spark of electricity that still travels between a few of your outer plates here. And he impacts the ground, but doesn't really seem to care for a moment. And then he tries to grab for his inhaler and realizes it's not there. And he starts trying to get up and scramble back up towards you.
Can you get him on a table for me, please? I'm not gonna bend down to the floor to check it out.
Bond shrugs, basically grabs the guy by the top of his head and drags him over to a table.
A little more gently, maybe.
Okay. Bond will look back to you just kind of do a bit of a sigh, and we'll very gently pick him up by his underarms and bring him to a table.
I have enough injuries to attend to.
All right. Yeah, you get him up there and strap him in. Yeah, Doc, this sounds, because of the remnants, Bon, do you give her anything relating to what he was huffing?
I'll tell her what I know, basically. Just, we got it back in insert system, whatever. I'll give the background on what happened, basically.
Okay. Yeah, from this, it sounds as though you're going to have a bit of a time with it. Why don't you go ahead and give me a study? Because it seems like you want to try and like put it under a microscope and check it out, right?
Yeah. That's what I
Okay.
was looking for.
Yeah, study. We'll say the position is controlled. The effect is standard. Five. Okay. All right. This is definitely an inhaler for some sort of drug. A lot of the chemical compounds are the same that you've seen in different drugs that you've encountered. This one is a little bit different than ones that you've seen before, though. From what you can tell, it has many of the same chemical compounds as inhalers that you've seen, like ancient ones, from back on some of the hegemony home planets. And it's marked with a distinctive kind of red, almost clayish color. And you imagine that's probably what he was inhaling in some way or another. And it's mixed with just a basic sort of CO2 inhalant. The compound itself seems a little complex, though. And as you're kind of looking at it, you are reminded that there's some sort of new drug. You don't remember what the name of it was. It was derived from some of the body parts of Xenos species further into the hegemony. And you remember hearing about it. It's on the tip of your tongue. You just can't remember exactly what it was.
But I know what slightly longer term effects are. Like, is it gonna, like, do we just need to wait it out, or is there something I can give him to make him come down?
Well, as for him, because of the type of inhaler, you imagine that since he was huffing it and huffing it and huffing it, it probably has pretty short-term effects.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna strap him to the table and let him wait it out.
All right. Yeah, he complains and moans and groans at you, saying, "Oh, you stupid bitch! Just give it back. Where'd it go? Where's my friend? Where's my buddy? He's supposed to do this with me, and now we're safe. Thanks to me. Thanks to me."
If you need him unconscious, I can help with that. Otherwise,
No,
I'm going to
it's
Conquer Fires.
it's nothing I haven't heard before. Just you
There's
said
one
there's
piece left on-
fires. Fires? Maybe deal with the fires. Yes.
Bond will take the 2 fire extinguishers he has under his arms, and we'll just trounce on off the fires.
All right. All right. So, I imagine you guys are doing that. I'm not going to make you roll for that kind of stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to enter what's called downtime at this point. So, downtime is... Oh, come on. My GPU is acting up a little bit. Yeah. Alright, so downtime, as explained here, when you're at liberty between jobs and find some respite from peril, you may pursue 2 downtime activities. This is for each person may pursue 2 downtime activities. You also recover all of your armor uses. During downtime, you may take additional actions by spending 1 cred for each extra action. For any downtime roll, add +1 dice to the roll, if you get help from a friend or contact. After the roll, you may increase the result level by 1 for each cred spent by hiring assistants, paying a bribe, etc. As a 1 to 3 result becomes a 4 to 5, a 4 to 5 result becomes a 6 becomes a critical, and so on. Now, some of the downtime activities that you can do are Vice. You can engage in your Vice and roll dice equal to your lowest attribute. Clear stress equal to the highest die result. If you clear more stress than you have marked in terms of stress, you overindulge, and bad things happen. If you don't or can't indulge your Vice during downtime, you take stress equal to your trauma. However, I don't think any of you have any trauma, so that would be no stress. The next thing you can do during downtime is recover. Remove all level 1 harm, and then roll ship's crew quality, -1, or a crewmate's doctor ability. Advance your healing clock per level. 1 to 3 is 1, 4 to 5 is 2, 6 is 3, and a crit is 5. So, in terms of harm, if you'll look, we'll pull up Bond since he has a little bit of harm left here. So, if you look here, it says recovery. When you recover in downtime, clear all level 1 harm and advance your healing clock. And then the progress would be 0 to 6. So, if he was injured with something, say, the ship crashing through the platforms and scaffolding and stuff from earlier, he would have... Oh gosh, my mind is blanking. Sorry. He would have to roll on progress to heal that. And that's during each downtime. He can do it. He would be able to do it twice during his downtime if he wanted to, and potentially have the chance of removing that entirely. Otherwise, it carries with him into the next job and onwards. The next thing you can do during downtime is a long-term project. This could be the shields getting repaired, or trying to properly identify the chemical compound that Mark was inhaling. Work on a long-term project. If you have the means, roll an action and mark segments on the project clock per level. 1 to 3 is 1, 4 to 5 is 2, 6 is 3, and a crit is 5. You can also acquire an asset. Acquire temporary use of an asset. This could be perhaps a shield modulator or a temporary shield projector, or it could be the services of a person or NPC. You would roll crew quality. The result indicates the quality of the asset. 1 to 3 is poor, 4 to 5 is standard, 6 is fine, and a crit is exceptional. And this is sort of like the tier of quality. So that's something I'll explain here in a little bit. You could also repair. You could spend 1 cred to repair 1 level of damage to a ship system. If you don't have any cred, obviously it's going to be a bit of an issue. Hence the shield's repaired clock. Lay low. Reduce the heat and wanted level of a system you're not in. Say how you get the hegemony off your back and roll an action. Mark segments on the wanted reduction clock per level. 1 to 3 is 1, 4 to 5 is 2, so on, so forth. Also, -2 heat. Or you could train yourself. You would mark 1 XP for an attribute or your playbook. In parentheses, +1 XP if you have the appropriate crew training upgrade on your ship. You can train a given XP track only once per downtime, though. So, with all of those in mind, I actually am having some gastrointestinal issues here. I am going to go ahead and start our break a little early here so that I can go and fix that particular issue. We'll go ahead and take a little bit of a longer break. If you guys don't mind, it'll be about 20 minutes here. We'll get back around 9 p.m. and get back to it. Sound all right?
Sure.
Sounds
Sounds
good to
good.
me.
All right. Well, in that case, stick around, guys. I have a little bit of new music for you. I hope you'll enjoy it. And I'll be back momentarily with more Scum and Villainy. Stay tuned.
Lovely. It's Jet.
And we're back. Thanks for waiting. Appreciate all of you guys, entire audience. And we're getting back into some scum and villainy. I have settled my personal issues rather well. It took a little bit more out of me than I thought it would, but all's well that ends well. Let's get back to downtime.
And you think my dating life information was too much information?
Hey, I'm not giving specifics about that kind of thing, you know. No, just the specifics of my bowels, or well, non-specifics of my bowels, should we say? Anyways, moving on.
Don't worry, there'll be a play-by-play tomorrow.
So, all right. Has everyone figured out what they want to do with their downtime?
Yep.
Mostly.
And Gizmo? You might be muted, Gizmo. You are indeed muted. Well, we'll get back to Gizmo. Alright. So... God, I keep wanting to call you Vincent. Alright. Jesus. Riot. What are you going to be doing with your downtime?
For the first bit, I'm just gonna recover, sort of patrol around the ship, putting out fires while I just kind of, put a bandage around, or put a bandage around, but like, I guess just take off the armor, maybe just put some ice on the place where the electricity struck, that sort of thing. Just, it's a level 1 harm, so recovering should just get rid of that.
Right, yeah.
Don't need any real assistance with that.
Alright.
So,
Yeah, you're kind of helping out, taking care of stuff around the ship, and you eventually like take off your armor and plates and stuff, and make sure and kind of maybe dust them with like a feather duster or something to get all the static electricity out.
yeah, I'm sure we have like electrical field manipulators on the ship, like space technology sort of thing.
Sure, yeah.
Take care of that kind of thing. Who knows? Yeah, aside from that, though, I am going to be training, and I'm going to train my prowess, and I'm going to do that in a sort of, now I'll save that kind of thing for later. For now, I guess, just, working out, keeping in shape, making sure, I am, well, just keeping with how I am.
Sure. Make sure you didn't lose anything in prison.
Keeping it tight, dude. Keeping it tight.
Yep.
Alright, so you take a pip in prowess. Alright, next would be needles, or stitch. What are you gonna do?
I was wondering if I'd need to maybe start a long-term project to finish patching up the crew for any NPCs that took damage with our crash.
I'll say that if, since you don't have any harm, I'll say that you can kind of like, kind of recover and just do it that way. All I'm going to ask from you is a doctor roll.
Yep.
And we'll say that the position is risky because a lot of these people took a pretty good tumble, but the effect will be standard. You want to take any bonus die?
Nope, I got it.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah, you get them all patched up, no problem. Make sure and check yourself as well, making sure there aren't any broken bones or anything out of place. Everything seems fine. It'll probably take a couple days for you to really see like complete improvements, but I imagine this downtime is probably over the course of a couple of days. So, yeah, that works.
Sure.
Okay, and for your second one?
I'm kind of torn between training on my playbook or uh, starting a long-term project to look into the drug that our pilot was on.
Okay. Well, you could definitely try and figure out the drug. Maybe you can do something with it later, figure out its properties, maybe even figure out how to sell it or how to use it. Or you could. What was the other thing that you wanted to do, you said?
Just train on my playbook.
Okay. Yeah, you could definitely do that. You were saying that there were a couple of things you were interested in potentially getting, I think.
Yeah, I'm kind of having a look at patch, which is you may doctor someone during a job to allow them to ignore the effects of a harm penalty,
All right.
which I think could be pretty useful to us.
Yeah, that sounds like it's pretty good. Um, well, is that what you want to do? Yeah. Do we want to wait until Cronson gets back to select your second one, or?
Um, no, I think I'll train on my playbook, but I'm gonna keep the drug research maybe on the back burner, like think about doing it next downtime.
Okay, so what we can do, and I'll have you do this in your color so that we know exactly who started it and what's going on. What you can do is you can create a clock. We'll say that this clock has 6 segments, and each downtime you can make a study action roll to try and figure out more about it. Um, and we'll just go with the normal like downtime action roll rules for that. So 1 to 3 is 1, 4 to 5 is 2, 6 is 3, and then crit is 5.
Okay, so I need to draw a clock.
Yeah, so you would just go up to the third. I think it's no, it would be the second one down, I believe, and then draw shape, and then hold Alt, and just put it like right here.
Put it down to a shape.
There's also a list to add clocks in your sheet, by the way. But if you want to be like visible to viewers in there.
It's up to you. Yeah, if you just want to do it on your sheet, that's fine.
How do I get rid of stuff that I've drawn?
Select and delete. Press delete.
I got it.
Thanks. Where's the place on my sheet?
So it would
right.
be
Oh, I
roll
see.
fortune.
Yeah.
it would be above your notes and before fortune.
Okay, so 6 segment you said?
Yeah, we'll say a 6 segment one.
Okay.
All right, and then you'll just have that. Make sure and name it. We'll say discovering the properties of Mark's drug or Mark's inhaler. Or if you want to be really specific and scientific, Mark's inhalant. Yeah, while you're doing that, Karin Cronson, have you returned? If you have, you are muted on Discord. Well, it looks like we're having a little bit of trouble with Karn there. We'll get back to him. All right. The other thing... Bit of phlegm in my throat here. Sorry about that. The other thing here that happens is you guys start picking up some stray signals here and there. And, one of them is a little bit more directed towards you. Not anyone in particular, but the crew of the ship. Go ahead and turn that off. Cool. Sorry about the interruptions. And some of these signals sound like they might be addressing you. Maybe not. Are unable to really tell, but each of them gives you a way to contact them, except for one of them. So these will be your jobs that you have available, and I'll go through each of these in terms of, well, really the way that I wrote them. There's an order, but I'm not going to waste time. The first one that you hear about is from a guy named Kai Quag. And Kai Quag wants a crew to sabotage a Starsmith's Guild ship, to sneak aboard it, sabotage the engines while the ship is in transit. And this is due to the Guild's attempts to disable shorter FTL routes, or warp gate routes, by placing new prototype jump drive jammers along those new routes. Now, these are routes that his organization, or maybe even just him, are taking to try and cut down on time. And the Starsmiths Guild wants everyone to use their specified routes because A, they're under hegemonic control, and B, there's usually a fee of some sort, and they're able to check things out as well. And in addition to these jammers that they're setting up along these routes, they're also setting up automated defense systems, turrets, mines, stuff like that around these jammers to help defend them. And that's that one, and I'll copy and paste that for you guys. Alright, now the second one that you guys pick up on is from the Deerneck gang, and they want someone to infiltrate an HNN broadcast tower and broadcast a holodrive's contents, full of House Malclaith's corruption and dirty laundry, to all those in the Wren system. The tower itself, however, is located on Wherein, the homeworld of Ratam al-Malclaith. And there you go. There's that one. Now, the last one here that you hear about, well, this one would make more sense here if Mr. Cronson heard us. So, Karn Cronson, are you around? Have you come back?
I'm going to message him. Hold on.
Alright. The last one, Karn Cronson actually was going to hear, and he was going to pick this one up partially through him being a phasic individual, and partially through his suit linking up with part of the comms of the Liberated. In this, he hears about a strangely human-looking Urbot. The being the servants of the precursor race in this sector, and probably for the whole galaxy. The strangely human-looking Urbot, calling itself Tushur, wants you to take them and hide them on the Cove, right smack dab in pirate territory, so that it isn't ever found or sought out. It says that it has quite a bit of cred, and is willing to splurge what it has in order to stay safe away from the Church of the Stellar Flame, though it's up for debate whether the Maelstrom would appreciate the heat. It says that you will be able to contact an Ashtari cultist in order to secure funds, maybe something extra. But you'll need to board an in-transit stellar flame vessel, extract Tushur, escape, and then travel to the cove and plant him there somewhere. And there's that
I'm
one.
quite. And that's the last one.
Yeah, that's the last one that you guys hear during this downtime.
All right. I am quite, I guess, biased or partial to number 3. God, I can't speak today.
Take a drink.
I'll get back to you on that. For now,
Okay.
I'm very interested in getting this thing to somewhere. I don't think. Actually, no, I'm just going to take that advice now. Hold on.
I just took mine while you were talking, so.
All right. Is that any better? No, it's not. All right. Well, I tried. I think getting some cred early on is a good idea. I think that I honestly don't care if we piss off the Maelstrom, because that's kind of. I like the idea that we just kind of show up with trouble occasionally, which might be why they're not doing too good on us. And, well, assuming they don't go to war with us over this, which I think is rather unlikely, I think it would be in our interest to do some jobs for them once we get there. Plus, it'll be a good place to restock, get some crew, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
So,
I like number 3 as well, just because it sounds juicy and exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, well, that would be 2-1. So, let me grab something real quick here. Do-do-do. Okay.
Needles probably has like a more like compassion-based reason. Thinking number 3 sounds like the right job, but like me as the player, that just sounds the most exciting.
Okay.
Riot, this is basically what he used to do anyways. He used to ferry people across different sectors, and this is, well, it's that. So, might as well.
Alright. Well, you guys don't have any trouble with the Church of the Stellar Flame, but it sounds like you're about to. So, let me go ahead and take a look at the factions here real quick. Okay. Okay. Well, interestingly enough, Maelstrom already hates you. Mostly because you know Ada Black. Or friends with her, I should say.
Yep.
Alright.
Well, Maelstrom doesn't like us. They don't actively hate us, and I think we can technically still take jobs from them. So, I think we're mostly good.
Okay.
We can probably show up and not expect to get shot down.
Maybe. We'll see what happens. Okay. Okay. Alright, yeah, you guys hear about all this and decide that after hearing from Karn Cronson about the plight of this little Urbot, of this human-looking Urbot, you decide that enough's enough, and to come out of hiding and start making some moolah. So, let me grab something, because there's a few things that happen. While I'm doing this, I'd like you guys to start thinking about how you're going to approach this particular mission, whether it be through force, stealth, coercion, whatever. Start thinking about that and discussing with one another, and I'm going to grab something here.
All right. Well, geez, so this guy is hiding out, and is the church already like on his tail, or are we going to get there before they do?
It sounds like he's on a ship with the church.
Okay. In that case,
Yeah, he's in transit stealth and vessel.
okay. So in that case, we're probably gonna have to park the fire drake sort of in hiding. Use our fancy dancy landing bay, which I assume has a smaller ship inside of it. See if we can't sneak on board, or at the very least come in peace if that fails. And just try and, I guess, take him off, find where he's being kept, and I don't know, we could pull a heat signature, blow a hole in the side of the ship, and then have the ship come around and grab us. It's not a particularly smart idea, but it's fun. Yeah.
I think we could probably do something with a little more finesse than that, but like keep that option in mind, I guess.
Good to know. I suppose then if we can get... So you're probably going to be the face of this one, because I think you have the best social stats. I only have...
It's true. Yeah.
I have 1 in command and sway, but that's not much.
I have 2 in sway and 1 in consort.
Then that'll definitely be useful.
Yeah.
I'd say get them talking, have Gizmo see if he can get into the cameras, see if he can find this thing, at which point we're going to have to do a bit of a stealth op.
Yep.
Okay. So grab that. It sounds as though you guys want to kind of go through infiltration. Is that correct?
Either infiltration or... I guess I should just include the entry point being the front door.
Okay.
It's not assault, we're just going... We're going to talk to them, basically.
Okay. Okay.
And hopefully Audra can bullshit us away inside.
Oh, well then, that sounds a little bit more like either deception or social. Because obviously the infiltration route isn't super secure because, you know, you guys don't have a cloaked ship or anything. You don't really know anything about the vessel other than that Urbot is on there. So you're going to try and talk your way through.
Yeah. We'll send, because we do have a landing bay, which I would assume has maybe a smaller ship, probably without any actual armament or anything, but a smaller ship inside of it. We'll probably take that over to their ship.
I believe you guys do have a shuttle as the fire drake.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys do have a shuttle that you can use to go back and forth between like planets and stuff. Okay.
That'll be fun.
Alright, so why don't you guys plan out your load? And tell me about what method of deception you're going to use. Like, what are you going to say to these guys when you get up there?
They're interested
think-
in eradicating dangerous artifacts and occult activity. I would say, basically, tell them that we are interested in eliminating as much bad juju as possible.
I was thinking that maybe we could say that we'd come across an artifact, and like me as a science-minded individual knew that like I should turn it over to them for proper decommissioning.
All right, so yeah, you're going to bullshit a magic item, and then as you're talking about that, we can enact the main plan, which sounds good. I'm gonna bring normal load, I guess, because well, so light is inconspicuous. Normal would be they would know I'm armed, which I don't want to raise too many red flags, but
Yeah, normal would be like you look like an operative. You don't look like a soldier, but you look like an operative. Maybe a spy or a lightly armored and armed merc, or someone who has a very specific purpose or is looking to get in and out.
okay.
But it would be you'd be generally on the whole faster than a heavy. You'd just be slower than a light.
Mhm. I'm honestly gonna go light load for this
Okay.
because I want to be inconspicuous, and being fast seems like a good idea.
All right. So just remember, anything with italics on your load doesn't count towards your load, but anything that has 2 linked boxes would count towards your load. So just keep that in mind. Armor, I believe, is still part of your load as well, unless you have some ability that negates that. Excuse me. Okay. What about you, Doc?
I'm kind of inclined to go normal.
Okay.
Because well, I'm not trying to stealth my way around with them, and part of my normal load includes like my fine med kit is 2 load on its own. So while it might look like I'm prepped for action, I'm hoping that I can sort of pass it off as, oh well, like it's okay, I'm a doctor. I need this stuff.
Okay. So you're trying to play it off that you need to be more well equipped than those around you because you're the one getting things done.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, so you're going with the normal load. Alright. Alright, Karn Cronson, are you back, my dude? Alright, well, I'm going to say that he's probably going to go with a normal load for right now. Go ahead and select all of those. Looks like he already has a load selected here. If you're listening, you are muted, my dude. But yeah, it looks like he already has a load selected here. Heavy blaster, drone, hacking rig. Yeah, okay.
A, that's 1 more than normal allows, and B, I think that's from the last mission.
No, he has 5 here.
The small drone is italics. Right.
Yep, the small
Hard to see
drone.
that from right.
Yep, the small drone is italic, so it doesn't count towards load. The only things that do are the hacking rig, his blaster, repair tools, and the communicator. Alright. So it seems like you guys are ready to get started here. So, camera kind of zooms out towards the ship, and we see, is it Mark or someone else who's piloting?
It's not Mark.
I think it's gonna have to be one of us, and I'll take the helm, even though I'm awful at it. But
Okay. Go ahead and give me a pilot. We're going to say risky with, we'll say standard effect. Do you want to try and use a gambit or push yourself?
Or I could assist.
yeah, if you can assist, that would be cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Which still brings us to 1 dice, but
Well, it's better than the least of 2.
Yes.
Alright.
So yeah, I am just sort of like helping you keep an eye on like all of the controls, because like if you're inexperienced with piloting, then it might be difficult to sort of keep an eye on everything. So I'm assisting by just like keeping an eye on things, grabbing anything you tell me to grab.
I'll check it out. Never mind. 2.
Well,
Alrighty.
We tried.
You did indeed.
we tried so hard.
Hmm.
I'm not finishing that.
Yeah, you know, as you, there is some gravity here just because of the mass and density of the planet, which is more so now a planetoid than anything else. But you guys don't really have a whole lot of trouble getting out of the spot that you're in, but as soon as you get out and you start positioning the ship to try and rocket off of the planet and out of all these cramped spaces, this gigantic chasm where all of these platforms and such were, you fail to notice beforehand that after crashing through so much stuff and having everything kind of fall down around you, you guys note that the mass of that is caught by this last platform that you guys just punched a hole through. And as soon as you guys try to jet up, you look up and right in front of you is this giant mass of metal and scrap. And the ship just impacts it with an enormous force, having the inertial dampeners not functioning, as well as no shields to really brace for that. The front of the ship just crunches right into it. You guys do eventually break through. However, the ship is none better for the wear. Let me see something here real quick. Okay. Alright. Someone give me a fortune dice roll with 3 dice. And you want to get low on this one.
Hey, we're going low. I'll roll it. Not a 6, at least.
It's not a 6. Okay. Let's see here. Riot, why don't you give me a 1d4, buddy? Alright. as you're punching through here, many of the antennae, as well as different kinds of subspace communication devices, that sort of thing, are just peeled right off of the ship, left behind with all of the detritus, which now falls closer into the center of the planet towards where you guys were. And it leaves you without really any way to communicate or contact any other ships from this ship, just completely negating the ability of your comm systems.
Oh, good. It's a good thing we didn't need to communicate with another ship that we need to approach.
Yep. Good thing that.
Indeed. It also tears off the targeting computer. Now, the targeting computer appears to be like, you can see it like being pulled off. It's barely hanging on there by some threads. Probably wouldn't survive warp gate travel, but probably isn't going anywhere unless something else hits it. Now, you can try and do something about that. Go out on the outside of the ship or something like that. Or you can try and press forward and not miss this opportunity.
Okay, here's the thing. This robot supposedly has a ton of cred with it somehow.
Yeah.
So
Said that all you would need to do is contact some Ashtari cultists in order to receive the payment that it has. It mentioned that it had access to many, what do you call them? Many different credit accounts for people across the sector.
we're probably gonna need to give some of that to the Cove, just because we're kind of crashing the party. But the rest of that's going towards our ship anyways, so fuck it. At this point, we grab the goddamn robot, we leave, and everything will be fine. Assuming we don't explode.
I'm concerned about how we will be able to approach the vessel that the bot is on when we can't open comms with them.
Now, what I will say is that because this is a consequence, you guys still can try and resist this consequence. You'll be able to resist one of them.
I think we need to try and resist.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's going to be doing it?
What are we resisting with?
I think this would probably be. Let me look at your sheet. This would, well, I mean, you guys can try and punch through this. Maybe Karn gets the shields working for like a split second before they completely burn out or something like that. And you're able to kind of spare either your comps antennas or the targeting computer and make sure that like at least the front shields are in order while you're punching through here.
Okay.
I think that would probably be an insight.
So you're doing that?
Yeah, I think we really need to resist this damage to our comms.
Okay. Go ahead and give me an insight resist. Ooh, nice. So no stress from that resistance. Now, which one did you want to resist? The comms?
The comms, definitely.
Okay. Your targeting computer is still knocked out, so just keep that in mind, but you are still able to communicate with other ships. There's a few sparks here and there, but the comms are undamaged. All right. You guys, yeah, the front shields are powered on for just like a split second, and right as the ship impacts where it would impact with just its hull and get a little crushed, it impacts with the shields and just blows this detritus back into the other sides of this chasm, and freeing you guys to travel back out the way you came. However, right as the shields go off, one of the longer pieces of scaffolding hooks into the targeting computer and pulls it off. Like I said, it's still hanging there by a few cables and cords, but probably wouldn't survive faster than light travel.
Fortunately, we're not going faster than light.
Indeed.
For the foreseeable future, anyways.
All right.
Let's just find this ship and make amends, be friends, and not die.
Indeed. All right. So, Liberated heads off of Baftoma, the husk, and starts heading out into sort of like the middle of the system here, where supposedly a Church of the Stellar Flame ship is said to be in transit. Following the coordinates, we fast forward, kind of clock wipe over to where you guys see the Church of the Stellar Flame. Someone give me a fortune roll. You're looking to get a crit at best.
How many dice?
We'll say 2 dice.
Alright. 6.
Okay. It looks like they've slowed down considerably, and as we kind of look at their ship, we notice that as we zoom out, there's a number of large, almost planetoid sized asteroids littering the area. And this area is going up, going down, all around you. It's a large asteroid field. And we pull back the camera slowly and start seeing signs of the fire drake, the Liberated, coming into view. And we see that you guys are just casually hiding behind a nearby asteroid, waiting for the chance to swing in. The ship that you're looking at is accompanied by a smaller freighter ship, most likely a bodyguard or some sort of defense or scout ship, but it's on the opposite side from where you guys are. So what are you guys going to do?
Begin transmission, by the way. Kronos. Okay, basic deal. We are getting a robot that supposedly was from the ancients of the universe, back from a cult that probably wants to destroy it, so we're going to do that by asking to get aboard, and we're going to spin some bullshit about finding a magic artifact, and then you're going to hack into their systems stealthily. Please find the guy that we're looking for, and then I'm going to sneak by, grab him, and then we're going to escape, and then we're going to leave, and then we're going to get everything fixed.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
I also need to know what your 2 downtime activities were, sir.
Yeah, Karn's downtown activities are going to be pretty straightforward. He's going to spend part of it repairing your shields, and the other part of it he is going to work on inertia dampeners.
Okay. So he's working on... So you're going to do 2 repair activities and repair the shields and the inertial dampeners?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, so I will go ahead and mark a clock on the shields repaired.
Oh, by the way, we fucked with piloting again, and we lost power and computer.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, we need to
I
stop
am.
trying to fly this thing.
Yeah, I am really sorry. By the way, I just suddenly feel like crap. So
Well,
I apologize for stepping away.
that's unfortunate. But it's alright. So that's filled in. I will. Why don't you go ahead and create a clock for getting the inertial dampeners fixed. You can do that on your sheet. It's under where you would. God, where is that again? It is.
Below fortune, above notes.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
could also do that on the Fire Drake if you want. Um, that
That
way,
makes sense.
yeah, that way it's tracked there since it's not necessarily just your thing.
4, 6, 8 for 12 segments.
We'll say this is a 4-segment task.
Okay. And 1 progress.
Yeah, we'll say 1 progress unless you have something that improves that.
Not yet. No.
Okay. Yeah, so just 1 out of the 4. And next downtime, you can spend time doing that, that sort of thing. So the downtime took a couple of days, giving you plenty of time to tinker and work with the different systems of the ship, or at least these 2 systems, at the very least. But yeah, right now we are in an asteroid field, and the camera, as we kind of pan back over, camera's facing this other ship of the Church of the Stellar Flame, as well as a smaller bodyguard ship, and transmission is about to begin. So, continue. Transmission. Thunder, you are muted if you were trying to speak.
I am not. I am not a social character.
Okay.
Right,
Who's-
that's me then. I guess we open homes and this is Dr. Audra Clarity, wishing to speak with a representative of the Stellar Flame.
Yeah, you, there's probably about a pregnant pause of about 15 seconds or so. And then all of a sudden you hear Yes, this is Inquisitor. This is Inquisitor Grayson. Where are you? Where is your ship? We do not see you on sensors.
Where is our ship? We're just like hiding behind an asteroid.
Yeah.
We're nearby you in the asteroid field. Perhaps that's causing some interference.
Very well. What did you need?
I believe that I, in my studies, have located a artifact that I think that you might be interested in. And I thought that it was of the utmost importance that I notify you of this.
Interesting. Okay. That sounds like it would be a. That sounds like it would probably be either a consort, a command, or a sway. I'm thinking probably sway.
Hoping for sway.
Yeah, it sounds like a sway because you're trying to change this person's opinions and attitude about you.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm on their side.
Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and give me a risky And we'll say standard effect for right now. You can push yourself for an extra die or extra effect. You can try and gain some help from a teammate if they can figure out a way to help you. Or you could try and take a devil's bargain, use a gambit.
Do you have a devil's bargain for me?
Okay. I think he's pretty interested. I think he's pretty interested in, at the very least, seeing it destroyed. So I could see giving you a die there, but I would say that as soon as, if you are successful, well, I guess I should make it independent of that. I would say that as soon as you try to leave the asteroid field, either going towards them from your position or leaving the position entirely, like if you chose to flee, they're going to have a track on your transmission signal, and the two ships are probably going to be able to catch up with you and start a fight. And if they catch up with you, they're probably going to want to tractor beam you and tow you over to the next temple planet, most likely on Wherein.
Okay.
So do you want to take that, or do you want to try something else?
The crewmates, do you think that I should take that? I have 2 in sway to begin with, but this seems like a...
I can't think of a way to intervene and help with this role, so probably.
And I can assist if you want and give you an extra dice. Basically, I'll just like back up what you're saying. I'll give a second opinion, just saying, yeah, she's right every so often.
I wouldn't say that that's necessarily an assistance. You'd have to say something substantive. If you could think of something substantial that you wanted to say, something like, well, whatever you can think of, really.
If would you think of informing them that, whatever it was really gave our ship a beating, whatever it is.
Okay. Yeah,
Seems like a very dangerous artifact.
Yes.
I could see that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll let you take a die for that.
Yeah, so basically I'll chime in and say, yeah, whatever it was, it gave our ship quite a beating. We barely limped over to you. It seems like a dangerous whatever it is.
All right. Remember, for assisting, you do still take, I think, 1 stress for the person assisting.
Yep.
All right. But yeah, you have an extra die there. All right, a 4.
Yeah.
Wow. I was really hoping that, like, with that extra die, I would get something a bit better than that.
Well, with the extra die, you didn't fail, so I think that's,
Yeah.
we can call that good.
Okay.
So at least we did it, but there's a consequence.
There is. Okay. I think he says a dangerous or artifact. This must be inspected, perhaps destroyed. It must be studied at the very least. Very well. You may approach the ship. However, be warned, the ship is fully armed,
as our bodyguard ship. Any attempts to breach security or to deceive the Church of the Stellar Flame will be met with swift justice and a smiting of all those who would cross us.
Of course.
Also, once docked, we will be inspecting the materials as soon as you arrive. We do not wish to waste any time as we are headed to deliver other artifacts into the hands of those more worthy than us.
I think as we turn off the comms, you hear Bond just in the background. Should I get my gun?
I think that, like, they would have a gun.
That's not what I. Eh,
Do you not have your gun already?
no, I mean,
Seems like a very important thing when you're trying to fight the hegemony.
what? I think you guys misunderstand. We don't actually have an artifact.
Oh, I'm aware.
They want the materials. I'm saying, should I give them some of my materials?
You really think they won't realize right away, and I mean right away, that that's not an artifact?
I Bond face palms at that. Like, I. Never mind.
I'm all for hedging your bets, but we have to have something that can at least look Irish. We don't really have anything of that nature.
Or could we get something of that nature in a flashback?
That is a possibility. However, it would depend on what it was. There'd be an amount of stress associated with that, most likely.
Yeah. I'm thinking that, like, we don't necessarily have an entire artifact to show them, but we said that we got in an entanglement with the ship, so we we need some, like, fragment of something.
Crush up some mystic ammunition, mix it with whatever that drug is, put it on some shrapnel.
No. Garden would like to make a fake one.
Ooh. You're just going to try and make a fake artifact in the time it takes to get to their ship?
I think that needs to happen in a flashback.
That's what I meant.
Okay.
Yeah, a convincing one.
Okay. So
and I'd assume his annoyance would be he's like finishing it up as they're saying, "Hey, we're here," and he's like, "Oh God, we're not even like kind of even sort of ready with this."
Okay. So we flash back, and we kind of do like a fast swipe to the left, and the scene we see is Karn in sort of like a dingy engine room area, and we see that he's kind of like tinkering away with something. As we kind of turn over to face what Karn is tinkering away at, why don't you go ahead and describe it for us?
So it is a box with various symbols and like lettering hewn from it, and it's been weathered to look extremely old, and I take some lighting and cause it to flash through various colors. So yeah, and it's just that box is supposed to. I would assume that Karn, being from the deep space, would know enough language to kind of like fake it. If that makes sense.
Okay. So you make this box and you kind of put some lighting up in it. I am gonna say, let's see here. Okay. Alright, let me get to something I need to read here. Exactly the amounts of stress here. Okay.
I'm so glad we're doing a flashback.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to say that you take 1 stress automatically for this flashback. I'm also going to say that I'm going to need a rig roll in order to see how well this was put together.
All right.
Can I assist with that by adding in some mystic ammunition to give it a bit of like extra glow and all that?
Is that an item you have?
Yes, it's basically it's weird magic rounds that I could probably use to. I don't know. It's an if I can, then sure, I'll do it.
I'll say that you can. Sure.
All right. Yeah, one
But
extra die.
that would he'd have to find some way to implement those. Can you think of some way to implement them?
It's ammunition, probably similar to a bullet or similar to like a strangely enchanted energy pack, which means if you were to dismantle the round and spread it along some of the indentations or put it inside the thing, obviously we're not using just the rounds themselves. You would break it and then use the strange plasma goop or the odd powder to add some basically after energy to it that anyone could sense if they were just looking at it.
Maybe the rounds also have some insignia or writing on them that could be copied onto the box.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, I'll go ahead and let you take a thing for that. I'm also going to get rid of these clocks here that I made, just because I found the clock section of the fire drake, so there's no point in keeping those around. You can check the clocks on the fire drake sheet from now on. That's where I'll be managing them. At least
Cool.
the ones that I manage.
What would my position be?
Your position would be, let's see, you just heard about this, you're trying to do it on the way. I'm going to say risky.
All right.
I'm going to say probably I would probably say standard effect. Because I would say limited effect, but you're trying to get this to be a thing that amuses them for a while, and trying to use it as something to uh, initiate a distraction of some sort, it seems.
And he's given me a bonus dice.
Yeah. Looks like he's giving you one bonus die.
Okay. Cool. And let's see what this does. Nope.
That's pretty bad.
Why are these rolls?
I don't know.
Okay. Alright, you have a box. It's probably not exactly what you had intended. You try to put some finishing touches on it right as you're called to the shuttle. And we see the box as it's kind of being carried in your arms towards the shuttle. And then we flash forward as you're carrying it. It's sort of like the same view focused on this box. It looks like there are like wires sticking out of it from where you tried to hook up the fiber optic lights. There's a couple of corners that are like chipped off. And there's like a bullet or two just kind of like sticking out of it at a weird angle. But you're holding it, and we see the landing bay doors open, and the what do you call that? The thing that goes on the ground.
Landing gear?
The loading ramp. We see the loading ramp extend out onto the steel surface of the stellar flame almost like moving cathedral type ship. And we see you carrying it out, and we kind of pan up to you and then to the muscle, and right before the doors finally open, what are you guys doing? Are you handing it off, or
Is it obvious how bad this thing is?
you haven't laid eyes on it yet?
Okay, so in that case,
I'm
I'll
just-
just be sitting pretty.
Okay. Yeah.
Karn is going to be. He likes gambling, but he likes gambling when he knows luck is on his side, and he has no time, no resources, and no plans. So he's probably a little underwhelmed with the box.
All right.
Needles is in her like crispest, most presentable outfit, and her ducted cart all neatly steamed and crisp, and she has a respectful smile on her face. She's like back straight, ready to meet with this cult.
Okay. Do you take the box?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Bon, you're just being a pretty set of muscles, right?
Yep, I am probably standing behind the other two, just kind of waiting for things to get over with, acting nonchalant.
Okay. All right. And Gizmo, you hand over the box. Probably not proud of your work, but willing to see what happens regardless. Are you like going into infiltration mode, like you said, or are you kind of hanging out with her? Titan, if you are speaking, you are muted.
I was in fact speaking. My bad.
So what are you doing?
Okay. Oh man. So basically, Karn is going to set himself in a position where he's out of the way, so he can kind of slip behind people.
Okay. That sounds like it would be a skulk. Does that sound about right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to say that your position would be risky, and your effect would probably be great, because they're not really looking for a midget ghost aboard their ship.
Oh yeah, Midget Ghost.
Do you want to push yourself or get a devil's bargain or anything?
I would love to do both because I have no points in scope.
Well, you can do one or the other of those.
Oh boy.
You can also, however, in addition to those, you can take a gambit, but you can only take one gambit. And it would be via the ship, so anyone else who would want to take a gambit would only be able to take one, and then that would be it for the job. However, it is just a free die.
Okay, I will push myself to take 2 stress and I will take a gambit.
Okay. So that would be 2 dice then. Damn. Good thing you did. It paid off. Okay. Yeah, you position yourself between these two people. Like, Needles, I imagine, probably isn't a large woman by any stretch of the mean. But, like, Bond is enormous. And probably has enough room that you could, like, dance around his legs. But you're, like, positioning yourself so that you're kind of out of view. Maybe you're behind a bulkhead or, like, a cargo bay seat or something. Maybe you're, like, if you've ever been in, like, the back of a truck, maybe you're, like, behind the space where the wheel well is. That sort of thing. And when it opens, yeah, they definitely don't take a look at you. Nobody really seems to see you, excuse me, or react to you. However, they do see the other two of you holding this amalgamation of metal and wires. And you see this guy who is in, who's kind of decked out in all red and gold. And he's got these long robes on. He's got this big hat that kind of curves in at the top and has a small, like, probably a plasma fire at the top of it. And he looks like he's a human guy. He looks like he's probably about easily like 65, 75 years old, somewhere around there. And he's surrounded by a couple of other people who have these staves. Bon, you're probably familiar with these staves. Um, these are sort of like the uh, these are sort of like the cannon staves that they use in Stargate, that the Goa'uld and Jaffa use. Um, except that these ones have like tiny little scythes on one end of them, and all of these guys are like decked out in like red outfits, um, beady little black eye slits, and uh, they don't seem to be aiming anything at you guys, but you can tell that they're visibly armed. The guy whose face is visible is carrying some sort of staff. It almost looks like a large hammer, except that the hammerheads are kind of like spinning around the shaft of the hammer, instead of being in one place. And there's little arcs of golden electricity kind of zapping between the staff and the hammerheads. And he looks at the two of you and he says, "All right then. What is this device that you have brought me?"
I apologize for the damage that occurred to the artifact when retrieving it. We can give you the coordinates to the larger area where our ship was messed up by what we assume to be artifacts. But here is the sample that we've brought, Your Honor.
All right. You're in the process of handing this off to one of his aides when you take a look at this fucking monstrosity, and it is nothing like what was promised by Gizmo. Clearly, he's failed something critical yet again, and you hand it off, and the guy takes a look at it, and then he pulls out a small like scanner type device. It almost looks like a tiny little flashlight, and it shoots a beam of a wide beam of energy over this thing, and you can see the energy kind of like pulsating through the box and kind of revealing what's inside of it, how it's all connected and what's tied up and stuff. And not really instantly, but over the course of like 3 seconds, 4 seconds, he shuts off this device, and his head slowly turns to you, Needles, and he says, "What is this?"
It's kind of your prerogative, we thought.
"Why have you wasted my time with this nonsense?"
As far as I know, this is an artifact. I have great respect for your cause.
"Guards,
And
take them!" And this
hey,
guy retreats behind these other masked figures who point the business end of their stabs at you guys.
Look, I have great respect for your cause. I didn't come here to mess with you. Like, what is with this hostility? I just want to be of service to the Stellar.
Okay. That sounds like either a consort or a sway. I'm leaning towards a sway. I would say that would be That would be a desperate roll,
Yeah.
but would have a great effect. So make sure you mark XP for the desperate roll.
Okay.
Do you want to push yourself? Do you want to take a devil's bargain? Take the last gambit?
I'm gonna push myself.
Okay.
Come on!
That's really rough.
On the bright side, though, being put in the jails might actually be a good thing.
Also, it wouldn't be their first time.
So I'm
Yeah,
too
we
stressed for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very stressed right now.
Yeah, you actually are, because you took 4 earlier. And then
Yeah.
this, yeah.
Needles is extremely stressed right now. I would really like to take a Valium.
Alright,
Karn's close to losing it too.
yeah, Karn, you're actually in a pretty good position here, so think about what you want to do while I come up with the consequence here.
If I may step in, I think as she says that, and is it clear that they're not buying it?
I think what happens is, as soon as she finishes saying that, this guy's like, "You're just here because of the bot. You want nothing to do with this. Destroy them. They will not leave here alive." And one of the guards swings down. He like flips his staff in the air and swings down with the scythe part of it onto you, and he's definitely attacking you. Do you want to try and resist this?
Me?
Yeah. Otherwise, it'll be a level 2
Yeah.
harm.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Oh, fuck. Oh. I don't know if I should try and resist this. I think I'll just take the level 2 harm.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Things can get really rough really quick in this game.
I mean, it's more just, the dice are not with us today. But I'm okay with that, because what this basically means is Bon sort of undoes his arm from a cloak he was wearing, reveals a wrist-mounted flamethrower, and says, "Alright, my turn."
Alright, give me 1 second.
I gotcha.
Yeah, he swipes down and from like the corner of where your shoulder meets your neck down to like probably the side of your breast and right in between your breasts, he slices a pretty large gash, and blood just kind of stains through your medic uniform and your lab coat, dyeing it red. However, stepping in is now Bon, the riot, with his flamethrower, you said?
Yep.
Alright.
It's me, a fine flamethrower, that I am using. It's one of my muscle-specific items, level 2 weapon. And I'm gonna get some cooked cultist.
Okay.
Well done, hopefully.
That sounds like a scrap.
I'm cool with this. And what can I do to boost the effect of this?
You can push yourself and take 2 stress. That will boost the effect by 1. However, because it's a fine flamethrower, your effect is already boosted to great.
Okay.
So the
Can
only
I boost
point.
it to incredible?
Well, you could try and boost. You could take 2 stress to boost it to exceptional.
Okay. I might want to do that, because if I can just, set fire to the whole floor, seems like I would be in pretty good position.
I do have a devil's bargain for you.
Okay, go for it.
You can torch. You can torch these guys, at least 3 of them, and just completely take them out of commission. And I'll give you a die in order to do that. Or no, sorry, I'm forgetting how this works. I'll give you an extra die to be able to torch these guys. However, if you do, Needles is definitely going to take a shot right into her stomach from the other guy that you probably weren't able to torch, and that's assuming that you got the other guys.
I'm okay with that if you want to take it.
Well, I'm thinking can I step in front of her to do that, which means can I immediately protect her after that?
After that happens, which is automatic, it's going to happen if you take the Devil's Bargain, you can try and block him off, yes.
I'm just gonna roll with my normal grade effect, which hopefully, if I get everything right, should still be decent.
Okay.
What's the position?
Position is going to be risky.
Okay.
Effect is going to be great.
Alright. Okay. Maybe a 4? We'll see. 6. There we go.
That's a 6. Is that all you... Well, I guess that would be all you really have for scrap. Okay.
Like, you can't get more than 2 for...
Right. Okay. Alright. Yeah, you definitely kind of shoot up your arm, and a little mechanism pushes forward the jets, and they're already alight as they come forward, and a stream of just steady plasma, napalm type stuff. Why don't you go ahead and describe it?
Alright, so basically, I put the hand out, and there is, basically a, sort of compounding sort of, plating goes over my arm, and basically I have not necessarily a jet, but just what looks almost like an engine on top of Bond's knuckles that immediately light up with a powerful flame. It's more of a straight stream than a wild blast, but he can make use of that just as well. Yeah. Burn him. And that gives us a gambit to use.
That does give you a gambit to use. So, one thing I did forget to mention is that anytime you roll a risky action roll, it has to be risky, it cannot be desperate or controlled. But anytime you roll a risky dice roll, and you get a 6 or more on that risky roll, you get a gambit. Assuming that you did not use a gambit in that roll.
Which I didn't. And that'll
bump you back up to 2.
Yeah. Or no, did we use one?
Yeah, Gizmo used one.
Okay.
For his skulk row.
Still, it's more than we had, and gambits are basically just a free push, basically.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep, it's just a free die for any action roll. It doesn't happen on resist or fortune or vice, though. Well, I think you can use it on vice. I'm not sure. I'll have to do some more research on that. Again, I'm
not important right now.
Yeah, I'm not super in depth on the rules for this game, but I'll figure them out as I go. Again, it's better in motion. Anyways, yeah, you fucking fire off this almost like a ray of fire, and it burns right through the clothes and armor of these guys. You can see that these guys definitely have some sort of ceramite armor underneath their robes, but this flame is definitely hot enough to melt through that. It's almost like thermite going through people. And you torch these guys, and you realize that the guy to your right next to Needles is just a little too close, so you stop and just kind of like shoulder bash him out of the way so that he doesn't slash her again. However, this other guy, the one with this hammer-like staff, he pulls it up in the air as you turn to look and is already in the process of chucking it straight at you, Bon. And when I say chuck, I mean that he holds up the handle of this weird hammer-like device and swipes down with it, almost like he would with a staff. And the heads of this device are launched with the force, little arcs of golden electricity streaking between them as they try and get towards you. I'm going to say that you can react, and then we will get back to Gizmo and what he's up to.
Alright, they're heading towards me. I'm going to basically attempt to roll under them and then torch underneath them.
Okay, that sounds like a scramble and then a scrap.
Works for me.
Okay, let's see that scramble roll. That's
position and
right. That's gonna be risky. Actually, let me read something real quick.
actually, so you said there's, from what I'm getting, there are 4 people in the room. I torched 2, and there's one next to Needles, and there's one in the air doing some weird wizard shit.
There are 4 people who approached. You torched 3 of them with your first volley. You shoulder bashed the other guy who had already attacked Needles into the wall, and then the guy in front of you down the loading ramp, just chucked the hammer part of this hammer towards you, and they're flying at you.
Yeah, so just dodge, and I plan to torch him from below.
Okay. Yeah, this is going to be risky, and I'm going to say that I'm going to say that the effect is great. You have a real chance of hitting him when he's not prepared. Now, I have a pretty obvious devil's bargain here.
Mm-hmm.
You can take an extra die and get under there faster, hopefully. But if you do, those hammerheads are definitely going to hit Needles behind you.
Nope.
Okay.
Standard effect, risky.
It's gonna be risky with great effect.
So here's the thing. No, I can't get a gambit from using a gambit, so I guess I'm just gonna do this normally.
Yeah, you would only get a
5.
gambit if you didn't use a gambit. Okay. I'm gonna say it seems pretty obvious here. I'm gonna say that you would take level 1 harm in the process of this. What happens is that he chucks these at you right as you take a look at him, and you're kind of dodging diagonally down and towards the 11 o'clock from your position, and you're trying to make sure that he isn't attacking Needles and that his attention's focused on you. And it definitely is. However, these things do clip you a little bit. They don't clip you as hard as they would have, but they do clip you a little bit. Yeah. You take level 1 harm. You can try to resist this if you would like. You can roll. Roll for it. I think you might be muted if you are. Yeah, you're muted.
Okay, I'm going to resist it by sort of rolling with the blast, or just seeing what I can get away with in terms of dodging it. Basically, I'm going to try and resist with prowess.
Okay.
Go for it.
Yep, go ahead and roll.
Nice.
Nicely done. Yeah, you don't take any stress from that. I'm going to say that you roll out of the way and you see these things. They like curve almost midair and home in towards you as this guy directs them with the handle of this hammer. And as they're doing that, you go completely prone for a second. They hit the bulkhead of the cargo bay of the shuttle, and they retract, and you have a pretty good opportunity to torch this guy's legs, if not higher. So go ahead and roll your scrap.
Yeah, I spring up and go for basically an uppercut as the flames are coming out to try and just boost him as much as I can. Position risky, I'm assuming?
Position would be risky, yes. Effect is going to be standard.
Alright. 6. Yes.
Nice. All right, yeah, you let loose this this line, this ray of fire, and almost like Ken doing Shoryuken in Street Fighter, your fist just rises up, and this guy is launched almost to the top of the hangar bay for the ship, and his brains are just torched right out of his head. However, with that, you now notice that there is a number of other dudes who are looking to potentially start a scrap with you. They look a little surprised, but none the worse the wear. Gizmo, what are you up to?
Yeah, you've managed to actually do the mission. I'm just keeping you guys distracted.
Yeah, so I'm gonna sneak in to their ship behind them because that is what I was told to do.
Okay.
I would really like that hammer.
I mean, the obvious... That sounds like a skulk, but the obvious devil's bargain is that you could try and grab the thing on the way, but it's definitely going to make a loud noise and attract attention directly to you.
I'll just get onto their ship. I'm looking for an artifact, right?
You are looking for...
An artifact robot, a humanoid-looking robot that is of technology.
yeah, so...
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger.
Yeah, let me copy this for you here. So I posted it in the chat for you, but just so that we have a refresher real quick. A strangely human-looking Urbot calling itself Toucher. And you were actually the one who was contacted with this. Part of your ghost physiology and the fact that you're kind of phasing in between reality and subspace, that meant that you were the one who picked up on this transmission. But it seemed like the Urbot knew exactly who you were, or at least knew your name, knew that you were aboard the Liberated, and that it wanted to contact you.
Danger, Karn Cronson.
Yeah.
Alright. Yeah, so Karn is going to head in. And
Okay.
Hopefully get that. Hopefully that hammer stays on the ship.
Alright, so that sounds like a skulk. I know you're not the best at that, but I'll tell you what. It's going to be risky. Effect is going to be standard. I will give you one extra die simply for being small and unobtrusive. So
He's causing a distraction?
I mean, Bond definitely is.
Yeah.
at the very least.
Can I use it as assistance?
I mean, that's why I was going to give you the
Oh,
die.
okay.
Because you're small, you're not really obtrusive. There's a big fucking almost lizard, half lizard looking guy who is just shooting fire everywhere and uppercutting their priests. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's see how this goes.
Do you want to push yourself, or
I literally cannot. I have 2 more stress, and then my stress is full.
okay? Do you want to take a gambit?
How do you guys feel about that? You okay if I take a gambit?
Sure.
Go for it. Like, basically, sooner you can grab the bot and get back to our ship, the better. Because at this point, the plan has turned into grab the bot, have you grab the bot and get back to our ship while we try not to die.
Wait. That's always the best plan.
Mm.
Just don't die, guys.
Okay. All right. So that's a 5. I would say that there are some like normal dudes who are kind of just like hegemony dressed soldiers. Like you'd be pretty familiar with their garb.
Yeah.
You know, they have kind of like triangular hats and like chest armor. They almost have like a Saiyan armor kind of outfit going on.
What a bunch of nerds.
And it's replete with little arm cannons, and a couple of them see you and start taking shots at you. One of them definitely nicks you in the shoulder, and you take level 1 harm for your troubles. You're also, because of the shots, you're having to like dive and jump around to try and avoid them. So it's slowing you down a bit. So you could try and resist either the harm or just push through it and just move and hustle. Or you can resist neither one and just take a little bit extra time in the harm.
I'll take.
Now, keep in mind, if you do resist, it's going to have to be a roll. It is possible that you could go over your stress. It's how lucky you're feeling.
Me or Karn? Because Karn always feels lucky.
I mean, it's either one, really. I suppose it would be more you, but whatever you want to do, however you want to look at it. I mean, me myself, as a player and a GM, I'm always a gambling man. I'll always take the fucking gamble, because fuck it, why not? Live a little.
Yeah, okay.
Probably
I'll
because
say-
we fail the mission if max is stress. It's the why not in this case.
It is
Because
possible.
like when you max stress, you get taken out of the scene, right? You're basically incapacitated.
Not necessarily. You do take a trauma,
Yes.
but you're not like paralyzed with fear or fucking obsessed with anything. You're just something happens and we'll kind of deal with it when it comes, if that happens. So choice is yours, sir. Now, I should note, in addition to taking one of the 4 traumas that you can take before you just say fuck this and leave, like your character just up and leaves, the traumas do mean different things. So if you're cold, then you don't really have any compassion or any heart in you left. You're just you're not necessarily a robot, but you don't care about humanity. You don't care about the things going on with humanity or other species. You have no
Right.
compassion. And then haunted, it's the same kind of thing with all of these.
Okay. And I'm taking one first level damage.
Yeah, it'd be, if you wanted to resist, you would either resist getting slowed down by the continual gunfire, or you would resist the level 1 harm. Or you could resist neither one, take the level 1 harm and being slowed, and it'll take you another turn to get to a door that you need to reach.
I will resist being slowed.
Okay. So go ahead and in the first level here on either side, it doesn't matter, write blaster shot or like shoulder shot or something.
Okay. Lovely. And how resistance? I don't know.
So what you could do is you could like just kind of like muscle your way past it, almost like Bond would, and just suck it up and be a man and get to that door, because that's the mission, right? That's more important. Payday is more important than just taking a shot in the arm. You could be fine after that. So I would say probably prowess, or I could also see resolve, because you're kind of like forcing your mind to get over the pain and just kind of move through.
Resolve would make more sense for Karn.
Okay, go ahead and roll resolve then.
No bonus dice.
No bonus dice.
All right.
2. All right, that's a trauma.
Yep.
You do reset your stress down to 0 though.
Lovely.
Okay, so in this situation, I would say probably reckless makes more sense than anything else. Would you agree?
Okay. Yep. Definitely reckless.
Yeah, I think that goes along with his gambler personality, as well as what just happened. He's tired of being in this contained thing. He's tired of living this safe life, of working for the hegemony. I think he's just become a little bit more reckless now.
Yep. He's finally decided to throw his lot in with the Liberated for good.
Yeah. And probably throw his life to whatever comes.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
All right. So you do still resist though. So you still get to that door, and it looks like it is just kind of a simple door that you've probably seen millions of times. I imagine you probably get to work to hacking it. It's like a keypad, but there's a little panel that you can pry open with your tools
Definitely.
to get in.
I have a fine hacking rig.
Okay, so that would be risky with great effect, since it's a fine tool.
Alright.
That would be a hack, of course.
Yep.
Okay.
Probably sets off the alarm, but I think you got it open at least.
Yeah, you know what? I think what's going to happen is I'm going to make a clock. This is not going to be a crew clock, so it's not going to be on the sheet, but I'm going to make a clock. Oops, that's a square. I suppose I could fill in a square, but that's not clock shaped.
You could fill in a square with 4 squares.
I know. Squares all the way down. No, not that. and then just like that. And
Hmm.
then, boop. And then put this as, whoops. Delete, and sorry about this. I suck at drawing.
It's all good.
So this will be a 6-section clock. I'm going to say that you guys, because of your antics and shenanigans,
Shenanigans.
yeah, that used to be my, well, that still is my YouTube name, Mr. Shenanigans. Check me out on YouTube, guys.
No.
Now we know who the sourpuss is here in this campaign. I'm going to say that you guys have already filled in 3 of these.
Yep.
Sounds about right. Any further failed attempts to hack things or to start fights in the place will be met with an alarm and extreme prejudice. I would also say,
Yay.
because of the situation, if the alarm is raised, I could see that being another tick for the 51st Legion clock.
Makes sense.
We're screwed. Anyway, at some point I'd like to find a council.
A council?
Console.
Oh, console.
console.
Okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, you pop open the thing and you start getting to work, and you're like, that shot just really got to you. You're inside. You're inside of this like little this wall, because there's like a wall that's holding up, almost like a support, much like the
Yeah.
control access that you saw before. Only this time it's obviously painted in stellar flame colors. And you're taking cover from the fire, but your shoulder just really is bothering you. And you're trying to get into this, and you know that if you just push away all these warnings, you know that you can get through into this hack, and you know you can get the access code, at least for this door. And you do. You get the access code for this door and a couple others up ahead. However, the warnings and errors that you have seen just kind of propping up allude to security alerts being about to be launched, and people being notified and that sort of thing.
Mm.
But you do hear that satisfying ding, and the door slides open.
All right, I'm in as the best I'm gonna be in. Wish me luck.
All right.
He's gonna continue forward.
Yeah, so with that, we have Gizmo proceeding inwards, perhaps meeting more of what was down in the hangar bay. We have Bon being attacked and striking back at these soon-to-be on-flame, stellar flame people.
Yeah, we've got one wave down, one wave to go.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. And then we
Well,
have
one waves to go, but one wave incoming, anyways.
one wave in combat right now. Then we have Needles, who just took a nasty slash across her midsection and is probably wondering why we even keep Gizmo on board anymore.
I mean, we didn't until like a week ago.
This is true. He is the new guy. But, I mean, he has done some things for you. But,
It's always the new guy's fault.
it is. It always
At times
is.
you-
Yep. All right, but with that, it's getting a little late, so we're going to go ahead and put a pause on this for now, and we'll pick it back up next Monday at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Daylight Time now. So it's Daylight Time. And you can catch us then on twitch.tv/ultralazuli. I'm going to pass it on over to Thunder. Go ahead and give us your outro, my dude.
What?
Outro. Anything you're doing on the net? Anything public? Anything you want to talk about? Upcoming?
Sure. Tomorrow, at about 3 hours ago, on my Twitch channel that you can find at twitter.com, Twitter/ThunderGamer64, you will find that I'm doing a D&D live stream tomorrow, 3 hours ago, as I said. And that's basically all I update on, so if you want to, watch a D&D live stream with the cool stuff, then do that. Yeah, that's about it.
All right, cool. Very cool. Next, Needles. Aaron, what are you doing?
Follow me on Twitter at Codabuck. I tweet about various things. And follow my dog's Instagram at Shiva on Fleek.
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
I'm probably actually going to follow the dog and probably not use Twitter.
Fair enough.
No offense.
Speaking of Mad Titans,
What up, my dudes? My name is Mad Titan Chronos. You can find me on Twitter at Mad Titan Chronos. Every word's capitalized. Or at the Nerds Tavern, which again, every word's capitalized. I'm going to be starting up a D&D live stream here shortly on Saturdays, beginning May 19th. You can find us at twitch.tv/the Nerds Tavern. And that is about it for right now. On updates to stuff.
okay.
Again, thank you for allowing me to be here. I apologize for disappearing at the break. Some stuff came up, and I had to deal with that real quick.
It's all good, man. It's all good. We caught you back on the tailwind here, so happy about that. Aside from that, and everyone here, you can check out my work on patreon.com/synthesize, where I am creating a brand new tabletop RPG system. It's entirely D6s, much like Blades in the Dark or Scum Villainy here. But it's additive. There are a few differences. It's something entirely new that I'm really happy about. Setting independent, really simple mechanics, that sort of thing. So if you're interested, go check that out. Aside from that, like I said, next Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, we'll be doing this again, and we'll see the conclusion. Apart from that, you can always, of course, pick up Scum and Villainy at evilhat.com/home/scum and villainy. That's scum-and-villainy. It's a wonderful game. It's a hack of Blades in the Dark, so if you're familiar with that system or familiar with Apocalypse World, it'll seem pretty easy and familiar to you. Aside from that, Evil Hat Productions is a great company to produce with, and I'm happy that they picked up this project. I think that's about it. So thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for participating, you three. It was great times, and I'm sure there are many more great times to be coming up. That was English. And we'll have tons of fun coming for you next Monday. But for now, this is Mr. Sean Anigans, also known as Ultra Lazuli, signing out. Over and out.